Hello and welcome to the latest edition of the Buffalo Roundup, your podcast home for all things VHS athletics. I'm Drew Shaltry, joined as always by Cody Hills. We're looking forward to a big week of sports here at the high school. We are in that overlap period where we have fall sports still going and winter sports are now in full swing as soccer has begun their regular seasons. We got basketball preseason this week. We've got girls weightlifting already starting their winter schedule as well. So plenty of crossover and plenty for us to talk about. Cody, it's about the busiest time of year we have.
Don't forget to eat lunch.
I made that mistake yesterday.
It is so busy right now. Do not forget to eat lunch.
You can't skip lunch.
No, we don't skip lunch around here. Yeah, it's been a fun time, right? It's you get that crossover, especially, everything's a little bit sweeter maybe when that football team can get in the playoffs. You get a little November football, a little bit of football weather, and then crossover. It's busy, but it is such an enjoyable time. It's work, but it's enjoyable.
Yeah, the weather's cooling down. We're heating up here at the Villages High School. Looking forward to a lot of what's coming your way. And hey, great place to read all about it, athletics.tvcs.org.
Yeah, as a reminder, as you wait for each new edition of the Buffalo Roundup, you can find all you need to know about the Villages High School sports at any time, as my partner said, on our athletics website. We've got a digital home just for you, complete with scores, schedules, rosters, and other info like ticketing and live stream broadcasts right at your fingertips. Be sure to check us out online today, like the man said, athletics.tvcs.org.
All right, so we mentioned football is in the playoffs. Buffalo will be at home this weekend facing Berkeley Prep at 7 o'clock on Friday night.
Right back there.
Right behind us, in fact, and you'll have a great view if you want to sit out here on Friday evening to root on the Buffalo. Bit of a surprise, though, when those final regional rankings came out. The Buffalo sliding to 4th. We had thought it was definitely in the realm of possibility for Calvary Christian to leapfrog them to go from 3rd to 2nd if they were to beat South Sumter, which, of course, they did. But sliding to 4th, we did not think was in the cards, Cody.
Yeah, maybe I'll rant more on our pregame show leading up to that one because, yeah, I was shocked. I was going to say surprised, shocked. You're never really shocked by anything FHSA anymore, or at least rankings-wise, but yeah, surprised. I thought the body of work was good enough to, I still think, earn that 2 seed. Not a slight towards Calvary Christian, who has had a great season and deserves it. Coco as well. I mean, the one loss for VHS to Coco, but when you looked at the body of work, when you looked at the resumes, I thought VHS had done enough to earn that 2 seed and to be home and through, at least if it goes chalk, through that regional final up to it. Final rankings didn't go their way. At this point, nothing you can really do. You try to figure it out, going forward. But you got to play the cards that are dealt to you. They're dealt a 4 seed, so they're going to get the home game this Friday. That's good, right? You want to have the home field advantage. Probably only going to get 1, most likely. But it's a tough matchup. Berkeley Prep, it's a very physical football team, and they're going to come in here feeling good about themselves. Won 4 in a row to end the regular season, so it's going to be a challenge, and having an opportunity to have a home game in front of your home fans, have a playoff game, that's something you never take for granted.
Yeah, absolutely. And Buffalo definitely going to look to get that win on Friday night. Berkeley Prep, though, like you said, going to be a challenge. That's a team that's physical on offense. They tend to keep the ball, power run game. And if there is a recipe for beating the Buffalo, I would imagine it is keeping the ball away from those dynamic playmakers, away from Jaden Kennedy, who has been so effective and efficient from the quarterback position. And if there's a team that's equipped to do that in this region, I'd say it is Berkeley Prep.
Yeah, they're very not a lot of tricks, right? They're very straight ahead, very straightforward. Offensively, at least, they're very much a downhill rushing attack. Going to be physical, going to challenge you on the interior line. Those defensive tackles, the linebackers for VHS are going to have to be active. They're going to have to take blocks head on, clog up, take up some double teams, and hope a teammate comes in and cleans up for tackles behind them. Very, very downhill. Like I said, Luby Jones Jr., the top running back for them, spearheads that downhill rushing attack with multiple backs in the backfield. He's a Division I guy, more so for his athleticism as a linebacker, but he still has 700 yards rushing, 7 touchdowns this season, a couple Division I offers to his credit. They're going to challenge you as a defense. So for VHS offensively, you got to establish that run game. I think that helps the balance. Yes, in a good spot, I think, though, throwing the football, too, if they can get to it a little bit more and have that balance, I think it's going to help out in the pass game. Jay Kennedy, 26 touchdowns, no interceptions, knock on wood there. He's had a really good season. And then defensively, too. I mean, they are going to mix it up a little bit, and try to throw different things at you. So it is a challenge. They are going to be physical. And, again, as I mentioned, they're playing really good football. Winners of 4 in a row heading into the postseason. 4 losses to start the season. They've only played 8 games, but those first 2 losses by a combined 7 or 8 points. So they've been in games. They're an experienced team. They're going to bring the fight to the Buffalo.
Yeah, and operating out of that Tampa area, they play a tough schedule. So that 4-4 record, nothing to kind of scoff at coming in here. And for Jay Kennedy, though, you talked about trying to win that turnover battle, trying to keep things clean. Obviously, immaculate touchdown to interception ratio at this point, as perfect as you can be. This, though, is going to be one of the more challenging defenses he's faced. Not because they're the most athletic group that he's gone against, but because they do mix up the coverages. I think that from a mental aspect in terms of managing the game, this might be one of the tougher nights that he's had. And how do you feel like he's equipped, and how do you feel like the offensive staff is kind of preparing him to go into that matchup?
Yeah, I think we've seen all, head coach Richard Pettis, who also the offensive play caller, the offensive coordinator, getting a lot of different looks in practice this week, because you're right. Berkeley Prep is going to bring a whole lot, the kitchen sink, if you will, defensively. They're going to mix up odd fronts, even fronts, going to have some bluff pressures, some full out pressures. Really going to make Jay Kennedy dissect the snap and sort of decide what he's going to do. It's not an easy matchup by any means. I think VHS may be an advantage in the playmaker side of things. I think especially on the edges, the receivers, Jamarian Debo Clark, Omari Hill, Antoine Johnson. If Jay Kennedy can get it out quick and get it on the edges, I think there's opportunities there for him to make plays to his receivers. But again, playoffs, always turnovers, a huge thing. Thankfully, history's been on their side, at least so far this season. He's done a good job of taking care of that football. Hopefully that continues Friday night.
Buffalo need to continue taking care of the football, but again, things looking good for them. Again, the individual matchups are solid, but Berkeley, a tough matchup just stylistically, and not an untalented group by any stretch of the imagination. So it should be a good one here on Friday night. If you're watching this on Thursday, plenty of time to go online and get your tickets and be here for that one. Kickoff at 7 p.m. at the Range at H.G. Moore Stadium. Other sports in the postseason, football is finally caught up to the rest of the fall group. Swimming is done. State meet concluded last week. Lara Braganza, silver medalist in the state meet. Again, second time in her career that she's finished second in the 100 fly, but what a decorated career for this swimmer. I mean, she's been absolutely one of the best athletes here at VHS over her time.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say, I had on the notes here for us, let's recap her career, and I think it's fair to say she is the most decorated swimmer of all time, right, in program history, top swimmer. I think you make a case for her as maybe one of the most decorated individual athletes in school history as well. Yes, never did quite get that gold medal, never did quite make history there. But if you just look at body of work, talking about body of work for football, Lara Braganza individually, that body of work, so impressive, right? 2 silver medals in that 100 fly, as Drew mentioned. Finished 6th in the 200 free as well. And you just look at her, her entire record, I think 8 records she either owns or shares in program history. So just such an impressive career. Selfishly, personally, would have loved to have seen her get that gold.
Absolutely.
Ended on the storybook ending, and really get that gold. But silver, nothing to hang her head about. That swim cap's going to hang up in a really good place around here. And credit to Jackie Mitchell and that swim program, developing another athlete like Lara Braganza. Coming off a year in which they lost so much on that girls' side, you knew you'd have Lara back to be a source of strength, leadership, and hopefully perform really well, and she did just that.
And you talk about going out on a high. Her senior season, she lost one individual race in the regular season. You talk about every duel that they had, one individual swimmer got the better of Lara Braganza one time in the whole year. Think about how many swim meets we watched here. What was it, 7 home swim meets?
Yep.
And one time somebody came in ahead of Lara Braganza. That's pretty crazy considering she was swimming 2 individual events at every single meet. So 13 of 14 basically in the regular season, wins the district title, wins a regional title, and then silver at the state meet behind just one girl who is also going to swim in D1 level in college. So, I mean, absolutely outstanding career. She's been going to the state meet since she was in 7th grade. I mean, she has been the driving force, or one of, but has emerged into the driving force in this girls' swim team. And she's been doing it for 6 years. She's been a contributor since she was in the middle of her middle school years, and it's just been incredible to watch her. She's done everything the right way. She's kept the grades up. She's been a leader on the team. She goes out and puts in the work every single week, every single day. And not one person, teammate, coach, teacher, administrator, anyone has anything to say about her that is not absolutely glowing. So fantastic career for her. It's a shame that it's over, but what a fantastic time it's been.
Yeah, and I think you can. We mentioned it when we started talking about this, but you start looking into the VHS athletics lore, particularly on that female athlete side. You look at a Kaylee Sosnowski. You look at maybe an Emma Simons. A couple state champions in track and field. Rebecca Clark, cross country. I think Lara Berganza has to be up there. If you had a VHS athletics, a female Mount Rushmore, if you will, of athletes,
Yeah.
I think she's got to be up there.
Yeah, I think she definitely at the very least in the conversation, but I don't think that I would have a lot of trouble putting her in that individual top 4. So again, congratulations to Lara on an outstanding career, and we look forward to what's next for her now. So moving on from swimming, cross country at districts, the boys were winners. 5 runners in the top 15. That's generally going to get you there at a district meet. And then the girls had 4. Girls finished 4th. Excuse me. They had 2 in the top 15. So both cross country teams looking strong entering the postseason here.
Yeah, I think that's 4 in a row for boys at cross country districts winning that district title. So David Perbola, I think 3rd overall. Nate Burton was 7th. And then just right on down the list, as Drew said, 5 in the top 15. Really impressive run. Taking that first place, mostly on placement, because I think if you look at the average time, Mount Dora maybe a second and a half better in terms of their whole team, but VHS got the placement, had the better runners overall, so credit to them. And on that girls' side, Anderson Chandler, Catherine Easley, both getting in the top 15. That junior-senior combo, it's been running strong for most of the year. Those two, again, picking it up and getting themselves inside the top 15. So teams will be off to regionals next week. I think it's down in Lakeland. So excited to see them compete there.
Yeah, always exciting. I mean, both of these teams have been sending runners to state year after year. Let's see if that trend continues as they head off to regionals. Speaking of teams at regionals, boys and girls golf both did really well at their respective regional meets. The girls finished second, just a stroke behind Bishop Moore, a team that the Buffalo have historically had trouble beating in pretty much every sport in the postseason. To come that close, I mean, that is kind of the history, though, with these Bishop Moore matchups, whether it's baseball losing in a walk-off, or you think about some matchups for soccer, losing on penalty kicks. Volleyball has been right there with Bishop Moore in the past, and now golf has had its turn, one stroke behind those Hornets.
Yeah, it's a really tough break for them. Head coach Jimmy Marston's done such a good job with that group because starting to get other contributors come along. Kenzie Kasanich was the top individual performer for this team. She finished 3rd overall, 76, I believe it was, over 18 holes there. I mean, just such an impressive run for a 7th grader. To make her appearance. Talk about someone like Lara Berganza, who had been doing, varsity and state swim meets in 6th or 7th grade, 6 years. Kenzie Kasanich now has a chance to do the same. So congratulations to her. And the boys, I mean, right there too. 4th overall in that region is nothing to shake a stick at. In fact, both the boys and girls squads qualifying for that state tournament next week at Mission M, both pre-ranked in the top 10 in their respective Class 2A fields. So there's a chance to make some noise there. Keep an eye on Landon Howell on that boys' side. I feel really good about him. 18 holes at Mission Inn. I feel good about it.
Well, and I mean, of course, you've also got Braxton, who's always got a chance to go low as well. So, I mean, a couple players on that boys' side that really could, if they have their best day, and if 2 or even 3 of them have their best day on the same day, you could be looking at a big jump from them in the standings. So that'll be interesting to see. I'm sure that all the boys at this point have played Mission Inn at some point in preparation for this, whether it was in the state championships last year or sometime in the interim just to prepare for this. That's a course that's pretty accessible from this area. So, I think that there is a chance that they could do something pretty special compared to, they've got great golfers coming up from South Florida. You talk about the Jupiter area and stuff like that. But, these guys can go out there on a Saturday morning and play Mission Inn.
Yep.
So a bit of an advantage for the athletes here in Central Florida.
Yeah, and that state tournament's 2 days, right? So you get the first 18, just try to put yourself in a good position. Don't blow up your tournament on day 1, and then try to make some moves on day 2. So be excited to get over there and watch them.
Yeah, absolutely. Should be a good one. When all's said and done, I think when you combine both the boys and the girls, this could be the best golf season in VHS history.
I agree, 100%. Yeah, I think so. You look at just in terms of at least the potential that they have. The boys, you feel really good about the top 4. All 4 of them making noise on the girls' side. Katie Allen, Kenzie Kasanich leading that charge as well. Abby Byron, there's some other key contributors there. I think that they could make some noise in a team perspective. You could have 2 top 10 golf teams. That'd be really special.
Yeah, absolutely a possibility, a likelihood. In fact, again, pre-ranked going into the tournament, 9th for the boys, 10th for the girls. So very possible to come away with 2 top 10 teams, and potentially again they could both move up I think, when we get to the action next week. So excited to see what happens with that. But that's where we're at in fall sports. It's been a really, really fun season again. There's been so much success from these programs. It's been a really exciting fall around here. We love that these teams have kept us busy. And they're taking us right into winter sports, which have gotten started already. We'll talk about that in just a second. But in the meantime, be sure to follow along with all of the action through our VHS Buffalo social media channels. Check out our Facebook page listed as VHS Buffalo Athletics. Our X account could be found at Villages Buffalo, and we share photos, videos, and more on our Instagram at Villages Buffalo as well. And we've got YouTube, of course, likely how you're watching us right now, and that's at Villages Buffalo there too. As always, we thank you for your support and your social following of VHS Athletics. All right, winter sports, we've had a chance to look at just about everybody. Wrestling's still a little ways off. Weightlifting we haven't technically seen, but we kind of know what we're getting with them year over year. But basketball took the court Tuesday night for the first time. Refs saw us preseason classic happening here at the Villages. 10 games going
a lot of games
in the span of 2 windows here in the VHS Athletic Center in the Buffalo Sports Complex. And it's been really fun. It was good to see the players back out on the hardwood last night.
It was, and for only $10, right?
Yeah.
So you could have your choice of 10 games on any given night for $10. Yeah, it was good though, right? It was that was the passing of the torch, it felt like, between fall and winter, right? Football's not done yet, golf's not done, but cross country, but getting those guys back in the gym, those girls back in the gym, sort of that rite of passage that we're closing in on that winter sports season. Yeah, both teams I thought played particularly well. We can break them down, but okay, I think, or fine. I think looked fine is what I wrote for here on our notes. I thought both teams looked fine. I think it looked a lot like a preseason opener for both squads. I'm sure the coaching staffs would agree with me on that, but both teams came out with a victory, and that's what you want to see at least preseason, get that result.
Yeah, I think that as a starting point, you're pretty happy with that as a coach. Obviously, Cole McDowell and Quez Porter, I'm sure both looked at those games and thought, man, we got a lot of work to do. But again, as a starting point, you're in a pretty good spot, right? For the girls, obviously, we knew coming in that they were going to struggle to replace Zion McCrae. And again, regardless of where the shooting is coming from, just having that singular player who can kind of tilt the court in their direction and make a play out of that, whether it's scoring or assisting, you're not going to replace a one-off player like that in just an off season. You don't typically have someone waiting in the wings with that caliber of player. But I think that what they're trying to do in the aggregate, it'll work eventually, but you've got 3 middle schoolers who are playing significant minutes right now. They're going to have to kind of grow into those roles. But we saw potential, I think, from all of them last night.
Yeah, I do too. And we also didn't get to see what maybe the full 25-26 team is, right? Narjani Nana Harris out with an injury. Hopefully get her back relatively sooner or later. Had a medical operation out indefinitely for the time being. But yeah, I think.
Yeah, Eva Mann as well.
Eva Mann.
Walking around in a boot all fall long. So
Yep.
waiting for her to get back up to full strength.
Yeah, so just not getting quite the full look, but overall, I think there's excitement. Last night was the first time that this girls basketball program has ever started 2 middle schoolers on the same team, so that's really exciting, at least for the future. Now, do they have to take their medicine? Do they have to take their bumps and their lumps along the way to get there? Yes, I think so. I think there's a lot of growing up to do for some of those middle schoolers, but the potential is there, right? You can see it. There's athleticism. I think Quez Porter is already getting, I think, himself to buy into coaching them. I think he's seen enough on the potential side to say, okay, yep, we're going to go ahead and put everything in, letting them start games early, let them get into some adversity early. 43-20 over Trinity Catholic. I don't care if it's preseason, regular season, whatever. Holding anybody to 20 points over 4 quarters is pretty impressive. So I think overall defense was there. Offensively, I think you're right, partner. I think they struggled to find out who's going to score the basketball consistently without Zion McCrae, without Harris in there as well last night. Didn't quite really see, okay, if we need to come down and run a half-court set, who's going to get the ball and score? Herva Brutus, probably the best bet for that. She got the majority of looks last night in the post. Michaela Cruz trying to figure into that role as well. Ariana Mann, not bad as well, running the point. So I think there's pieces there. It's going to be interesting to watch and see how they go. And they'll be back in action Thursday as well.
Yeah, I think Ariana Mann looked good from a floor general standpoint. There were a couple times where she called for the ball, adjusted play, or even working off ball where it seemed like she was kind of manipulating the court. Didn't have a great shooting night. Took her until, I think, the 4th quarter to hit a 3. Yep. You're not going to have that every night from Ari Mann. She's too lethal from beyond the arc. So if you can get a win by 23 points where she's taking 10 shots and making 2 of them, that's pretty good because most of the time she's going to be up around that 40% mark, and that's going to look better and better for her. So, I think all things considered, you got reinforcements on the way. The middle schoolers looked pretty good. TC, not as strong of a program as we expected. They lost a lot from that team last year, 7 seniors plus 2 top contributors who transferred out after last year. So maybe not the challenge that they would have been a year ago, but still a good matchup, a lot of experienced players. So for them to come out and play the way that they did. And hey, I think Quez Porter, if your team's really good at defense, you can survive your offense struggling.
Right.
I think that he feels the same way that Cole McDowell does, which, hey, if we miss a ton of shots, as long as we're playing good defense and we're still in it because of that, I'll live with it. So if you have a team that's going to be active, which everybody on that team was aggressive, pursuing the ball, closing out shots, chasing loose balls, really hounding players on offense, I think you're in a pretty good spot there to begin with. You don't have to get your team kind of motivated to play defense that way. Again, that is a solid starting point.
Yeah, both those middle schoolers, smaller, athletic, shifty guards, right? So I think VHS can play at a faster pace this year maybe than I was anticipating that they were going to have to play at without the scoring prowess of Zion McCray. I think they can still get up and down the floor and work on the press break a little bit and get that more. That's something that usually comes along as the season progresses. But yeah, I think they can play at a fast pace. They can play in transition, and you can usually do some damage in girls basketball. You play in transition. A lot of teams don't really want to run. VHS can play at a pace that they can hopefully get some wins out of.
Well, and I'll tell you, the player that I think I was most impressed with last night, having no expectations, was the third middle schooler we saw, Kennedy Rogers, came off the bench, and I thought she made a difference right away. She was super aggressive, getting into players on the ball, poking that ball away, got some steals. She gets up and down the court so fast. A couple times where she sold to try to get a steal and then recovered really well after the player goes by her with the ball. So really excited to see how she does. And again, in transition, if you can get into transition, which the way that the Buffalo are playing defense right now, they're going to have those opportunities. I think she's going to be a big part of that for them. I said this on the broadcast last night, and Marquez Porter, I think, would like to have more players that fit this description, but I'm sure he knows that this is a compliment. She looks like she plays for Wildwood, the way she plays basketball.
Yep.
And if you've watched girls basketball in this area, you know that's a huge compliment, defending state champs. And Kennedy Rogers seemed like a Wildwood girls basketball player to me, and I think that Quez Porter would love for that to become their reputation at this point.
That's a championship pace and a championship effort that you would love to replicate.
Yeah, absolutely. On the boys' side, again, fine. We didn't see them at full strength either. Still missing Aaron Britt Jr. Hasn't joined the team yet after dealing with an offseason injury. So, and I think that really is the biggest thing, right? They had a really slow start against the First Academy. Offensively, really struggled. I think when you have Aaron Britt, who is both going to be your primary ball handler and also is an excellent scorer of the basketball, you're just going to be a lot better off.
Yeah, I think so. He's sort of the proverbial straw that stirs their drink, right? Especially, as you mentioned, he's the floor general. He's your top on-ball perimeter defender. He does a lot of things. His leadership is such a big thing on the court, keeping everyone calm and together. Did a good job of that on the bench last night, but obviously it's such a different role being there as opposed to on the floor. I thought overall, again, like I said in the opening, I think they look fine. I don't think there's anything to write home about. I don't think, your expectations should change one way or the other about this basketball team based on last night. I would have liked to have seen them shoot the ball better, particularly at the free throw line.
Yes.
They really struggled at the charity stripe last night, and that's something that's just uncharacteristic for the Buffalo under Colt McDowell. Shot about 69, 70% last year. Saw flashes last year. Maybe they weren't as efficient at the line. Struggled there again last night. But overall, I thought the attention to detail, especially defensively, was pretty good. They bottled up TFA, suffocated them at times, held them scoreless for 2-3 minute stretches a couple different times throughout the night. So overall, a fine performance, B-, if you will. Not bad.
I think the big thing right now with VHS is there are a handful of guys that I would consider X factors, and they're all guys that are going to be coming off the bench this year. We project, based on what we expect the starting lineup to be. It's Cam Lee, who started last night in place of AB. But then you've got Kimani Weathers, who's coming back after missing last season with a knee injury. You've got Miles Simpson, who transferred in, coming from the St. Louis area. And that they kind of make things interesting, right?
Zayden Garcia.
And Zayden Garcia is the other one. Very talented guard who had an insane growth spurt that nobody expected. And so he's still kind of figuring out what he's doing in that frame. But prior to that, really good ball handler, really, really beautiful three-point shot. And so you take those four guys and, whether or not those guys carve out consistent roles or maybe on a given night can swing a game for you coming in off the bench. And, then it comes to Colt McDowell giving those guys enough time to figure out who's going to get hot tonight. Whereas coming off last year, very used to relying on a very narrow rotation of 6 guys primarily. So it's going to be interesting to see, I think, how those guys all fit in. But again, I think each of them has the potential certainly to take over a game, and will we see it, and will they get the opportunity?
Yeah, I think one thing that stands out to me about that second unit, if that's what we want to call it, Lee, Weathers, Simpson, and Garcia, at least 4 of them, is how committed to defense they are.
Yes.
Right? And so you bring in a guy like that off the bench, 1 or 2 of them, or you bring in all 4. I think for an opponent, it makes them look over and see at the scores table, and it's like, great. Like, they have 4 more guys that want to play that hard and that, physical defensively. It has to be suffocating to an opposing offense. So, yeah, I agree. I thought defense really strong. I think those 4 a key point to it. And, yeah, X Factor's a really good label for them, because if they are good and if they buy in to what they're doing as a basketball program, this team is so much more better.
Well, and I think the other thing to think about, think back to 2 years ago when you had guys like Kamani Weathers was coming off the bench then. You had Bryson Hammermeister. You had a bunch of pieces that kind of showed up suddenly. It was when Aaron Britt got here, and so it was who's going to fit, who's going to play where, and we would see in spurts that these guys would be dynamic. I think the difference is they have a starting 5 that's much more cohesive right now than you did at that time. And regardless of who you're leaving in, I think can complement the other guys as they sub in and out. And so whether or not the roles are necessarily more clearly defined for those guys as they sub in, I do think that whether you're leaving 1 or 2, whether it's Hurley Brutus and Aaron Britt or Jared Thompson and Jomar Bernard, I think that there are complementary pieces for everyone that you're bringing in. And I think that there are opportunities for Colt McDowell to kind of mix and match and maybe not feel like there's ever a drop-off while extending that rotation a little bit more.
Yeah, he's got more options, right?
Yeah.
I think this year, the just 1 through 9, 10, we don't even have some of the football guys back you expect to contribute, Brady Hunt, Jay Kennedy. That rotation, there's options now, and you can play matchups. You can play, I think, or have confidence that you can roll out 9 or 10, maybe even 11 guys and just go with whatever an opponent is giving you. And that makes them such more of a dangerous team.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how they look on Thursday night. Much tougher matchup against the Rock. It's an exciting one. We've loved watching that in the preseason the last couple of years. But VHS getting that top 15 in the nation preseason ranking from Max Preps, certainly putting a bit of a target on their backs. And I think you saw it last night, the way the First Academy came out very much in the face of the Buffalo, holding them to 7 points in the first quarter. You could see that they were pumped up about it, talking a little bit of smack, getting into it a little bit at the end of that first quarter. But Buffalo come out with a big second, managed to hold off the First Academy the rest of the way. But I think that every team is going to want to come out with a big punch like that to start things off. So we'll see how the Buffalo manage it. Moving on to soccer, boys and girls both underway as of last week. The boys started 1-1, lost at Springstead after beating South Sumter at home earlier in the week. The girls 1-2, went on the road, and for all 3 of them actually, got a win at Space Coast, and then 2 respectable losses to local opponents, Vanguard and Lake Mineola, 2 of the better programs in the Tri-County area here between Lake Marion and Sumter. So not a bad start to the season by any means. Those aren't losses that are going to kill you later. But I think both of these teams, the girls a little bit more experienced, a lot of young players that are a year older but still very young on the whole. And then the boys obviously are taking a huge reset from last year with that class of 25 going out.
Yeah, I think we talked on last week's episode how both were going to have goals to find, whether it was Kiana Burgos on the girls' side or the boys only. What was the number, like 7 out of 56 goals?
7 out of 56 goals returning, 8 starters gone from last year to graduation, and then again missing Waylon Wilson and Keenan Boozer, who aren't with the team yet because they're playing football.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of production to make up for, whether it be in the aggregate or you find a superstar. I think the aggregate's the easier route to go. Scoring's been an issue for both squads. I mean, beating South Sumter 3-0. Historically, you usually get up on the Raiders a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
But look, a win's a win. You're happy to get it. Wasn't able to score on the road at Springstead 4-0 a night ago, Tuesday night. So, and then girls' side too. I mean, just trying to find scoring. As you mentioned, Vanguard and Lake Mineola, 2 good powerhouse programs in this Tri-County area, 2 good defensive-minded clubs. As you look at the history, especially against Vanguard, usually low-scoring games. So, overall, I think the starts of the season maybe we expected. Look, they've got to find these new faces and new places, get them into the rotation, sort of find a starting 11 that works for them and go forward from there.
Yeah, so we'll see how things continue to progress. We're recording this on Wednesday, so we will see the girls here at home tonight. Looking forward to that. Boys will be playing here tomorrow from when we're recording, but if you're watching this Thursday morning or Thursday afternoon, you can get out here to watch the Buffalo boys take the field on Thursday night at 7 o'clock. So hopefully we'll see you out here for one of the several events that we've got going on. Again, soccer Thursday night. Tip-Off Classic, Refs Are Us, Tip-Off Classic continues on Thursday night. Again, that starts at 6 for the girls, 7:30 for the boys, 10 games between the two gyms. So plenty of action to watch. You can float between them. You can pick two. You can pick one if you want. But $10 admission, very much worth the price. And then Football Friday here in the Villages. First home playoff game in quite some time. We're very much looking forward to that one. And we're hoping to see you at the range at 7 o'clock. That's it, though, from us. And we hope to see you out here again this week. But until then, go ahead and tell them what we say.
Go Buffalo.